Long, long ago, in China, in a place where the mountains were so high that the tops of the mountains were surrounded by clouds. At the top of one of those mountains, there lived an old wise man called Tian. And Tian was known all over China because he was an old wise man, because he lived at the top of one of those mountains, and because he was kind and generous. And he was known all over China, not as Tian, but as Lord of the Cranes, because everything he had, he shared with the cranes. His food, the warmth of his house, his water, and the love that he had. And in return, the cranes did the same with him. And they loved Tian so much and helped him. But one day, as he was feeding the cranes, Tian thought of something. He said to himself, well, I've been at the top of this mountain for so long that I don't even remember how the people down there in the towns, the cities, the villages live. Do they still remember how to be kind and generous? Do they still remember how to share what they have with other people? Well, I must go and find out. So he jumped on one of the cranes and down they flew from the mountains and they flew to the nearest town. And once he was there, Tian started walking around looking at the people, and there he saw a beggar. The beggar was asking for food, for money, for warmth. But nobody was paying attention to him. And so Tian went to the beggar and asked him, could we swap clothes? Can I take your clothes and you take mine? The beggar looked at Tian and said, why? Why would you ever want to do such a thing? Look at your clothes. You've got fine clothes, beautiful clothes. Look at me. I've only got rags. You'll be cold in these clothes and people will look at you. Well, they won't look at you. They won't even notice that you're there. Well, said Tian, it's an experiment. Would you like to exchange your clothes for mine? And of course the beggar said yes. And Tian wore the beggar's clothes and he sat on the street begging for food, for money, for warmer clothes. But people passed by him without even listening to him, without even looking at him. It was as if he was invisible. And Tian begged and begged and asked for money, for food, for warmer clothes, but nobody cared about him. And after some days like this, Tian was cold, hungry, tired. He started walking around the town, looking for a place where he could find something to eat and some warmth. And he stopped because he saw a small inn. And he looked through the window. There was a fire burning in the hearth. Tian decided to go in and try. He opened the door, and there he was welcomed by a big man, the innkeeper, Wang. And Wang, after having heard that Tian was cold and hungry, he decided to sit him just next to the fire. And without Tian even asking for anything, he ran to the kitchen, he took a bowl, he filled it with soup and he gave it to Tian. And Tian ate hungrily. And when he finished the bowl of soup, Wang took the bowl and he filled it again with some soup and he gave it to Tian. And Tian ate. And with the warmth of the fire and the warmth of the soup, Tian was warm in his body and his soul. And Tian looked at Wang and said, but I don't have anything to give you in return. I don't have any money. Oh, Wang shrugged and said, I don't want your money. Please come back here whenever you need food and warmth. I will always have something to give you. And so, day after day after day, Tian went back to the inn. And every day he sat next to the fire and Wang gave him a bowl of hot soup. And Tian ate. And day after day after day, Tian and Wang became friends. And one day, after eating his soup and sitting next to the fire, Tian said to Wang, Wang, I want to repay you. No, I don't want anything from you. You don't have any money. I don't want something from you. What I gave freely and happily. I'm happy that you're now well fed and you're not cold anymore. But Wang didn't know who Tian was. And Tian took his walking stick and went to the wall of the inn. And he used his walking stick as a brush. And he painted and painted and painted. And when he had finished painting on the wall, there was the most beautiful picture of cranes. Wow, said Wang, you did this for me. Thank you so much, said Wang. Oh, just a second, said Tian. It gets even better. And Tian started clapping his hands and clapping his hands and stomping his feet and stomping his feet and dancing and singing and dancing and singing. And the cranes on the wall started dancing as well. And they danced and danced and danced and danced. And Wang was so amazed by what was happening. Wow! Really? And he looked at the wall with the cranes dancing, and he tried to clap his hands and stomp his feet and sing a song. And the cranes were dancing and dancing and dancing. And he was so amazed and mesmerized by what was happening that he didn't realize that Tian was going away. And when he realized that Tian was not there anymore, he ran out of the inn and he saw Tian walking away in the distance. And he said, hey, wait, stop. Who are you? But Tian didn't stop and he just disappeared in the night. And so, day after day after day, people heard about the wonderful painting on the walls of the inn. And they came and clapped their hands and stomped their feet and sang and danced and were merry. And soon Wang was one of the wealthiest men in town. But he always remembered to have a place at one of his tables where a man or woman that needed some food could come in, they could sit and have free food and warmth. He never forgot about them. He was always generous and kind, even though he was getting wealthier and wealthier. And he could help even more people now. Well, one day, Tian decided to go back, and he went back to the inn, and Wang welcomed him with open arms. My friend, thanks to the picture that you painted on my wall, I'm one of the wealthiest men in town. How can I repay you? How can I say thank you? Well, I gave you just food and warmth, and you did all of this for me. And Tian didn't say a word, but he took his flute and he started playing sweet song, sweet tune, a soft tune. And the cranes on the wall started dancing and dancing and dancing. And soon one by one, they came out of the wall. And Tian jumped on one of the cranes and he said, "It's time to go back home. Wang, you know what you could do to help me and say thank you for all of this? You can keep on being generous and kind and share the values of happiness and kindness with all those that you meet on your way. Keep teaching people to be as generous and as kind as you are. That's what will make me happy." And Tian went outside, and up he flew with the cranes, and they flew to the mountains. And Wang went outside as well, and he looked at Tian flying away. And he understood that Tian was the Lord of the cranes. And well, of course, Wang kept spreading the values of kindness and generosity. And he kept teaching everybody how to be kind and generous with his example and helping people. And that's the story of the Lord of the Cranes.